of the four schools,
I mean, only the Maliki.
I could say only Malik got it right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Newsflash. So they were breaking Imam Malik's arm because he was a Shia.
you know. Let me give you the best argument I've ever heard of this. The best argument I've ever heard of this is the reason why Malik said done sadl was because obviously when they asked him why, he's like, well, my arms were chopped off, so I had to do sadl. So I'm like,
what arms?
So that's why.
Why don't you fold your arms? He goes, what arms?
That's why he had to do sadl. So I was like, well, he's
علي ولي الله غضب العلوي تفجر الله أكبر حيدر 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 الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله لا إله إلا الله علي ولي الله غضب العلوي
Yeah.
So Mufti Abu Layth, now we want to move on to, I won't take too much, just towards the khulasa now, in regards to some fiqh masail.
Fiqh masail.
Yeah, I know this is your Mufti, this is what you do.
Allah.
So this is regards to the Maliki discourse.
Yeah.
And especially in regards to what you could call the commonalities, that some things that we share. And things that I was really interested in was to do with the sadl.
Okay.
In Maliki discourse, the Raf al-Yadayn, and also muta.
Mut'a.
Your sexuality. That's my sexuality, but
wait a minute, are my recordings all out?
It's all out,
Is it on Netflix yet?
Trust me, I've had muta debates, trust me, man's known for this, man's known for this.
Right,
but yeah, so those things like, because in the Shia view, Raf al-Yadayn, sadl, muta, all our things are seen as in prayer is accepted, and we do it as we do it as part of prayer, and muta is jaiz. So in regards to the Maliki tradition on it, because it seems like with the school of Medina, and there's a lot of things that there's definitely some overlaps, because obviously Imam Sadiq was from Medina as well, and even the Taslim.
And what's Abdullah Mahd?
Abdullah Mahd, the son of Imam Hassan al-Islam, and his grandson.
Abdullah Mahd.
Hassan al-Muthanna's son.
Yeah.
And his son was Muhammad Nafs.
Yeah, his son is Muhammad Nafs, but he's also one of the teachers of Imam Malik as well.
So maybe there's some overlap.
So there's definitely some overlap.
Suddenly, out of the four schools, only
the Maliki.
I could say only Malik got it right.
Yeah, exactly. Wait a minute. Newsflash. So they were breaking Imam Malik's arm because he was a Shia.
you know. Let me give you the best argument I've ever heard of this. The best argument I've ever heard of this is the reason why Malik said done sadl was because obviously when they asked him why, he's like, well, my arms were chopped off, so I had to do sadl. So I'm like,
what arms?
So that's why.
Why don't you fold your arms? He goes, what arms?
That's why he had to do sadl. So I was like, well, his tongue still works. He could have just said, I can't do it, you don't do it. I've heard this in argumentation about
this. This is so dumb, man. I was in my Dawra Hadith class. And the teacher said it once. Not chopped, like they say his arms were broken.
Yeah, broken.
So he said this. I actually burst out laughing.
This is why he done sadl.
All his students' arms are broken.
That's what I
said. Like, first of all, that's so stupid because in the Mudawwana he's actually asked, do you do qabd in salah? And he says, I don't know about it in salah. He goes, if you want to do it in nafal, it's up to you.
Yeah.
Now the point is, I've said, look, this concept of sadr is so interesting
because it became known as our sign.
Yeah, it's because this is
it's another issue.
It's a sectarianized issue. Which, let's put Imam Malik aside just for one moment, right? We'll come to him now. Imam Awza'i did sadl. Layth ibn Sa'd did sadl. Hassan al-Basri did sadl. You've got Ibrahim al-Nakhai did sadl. You've got from I believe Ibn Sirin did sadl. You've got Sa'id ibn Jubayr did sadl. Sa'id ibn Musayyib did sadl. You've got, I think, Ata ibn Abi Rabah, there's one tradition from him doing sadl, I think one narration, there might be a varying one. Did Urwat ibn Zubayr did sadl. You've got like so many people. Abdullah ibn Zubayr, they transmitted
and they mentioned the best of the Tabi'in.
Now, all these people do sadl, and Imam Malik does sadl. Now, this thing, now Imam Malik does have other narrations as well.
Yeah,
and there's no problem with that. And I love how Ibn Abdul Barr said it. He said, look, in his Kafi, he said, look, that these are all from the Sunnah of the Prophet. Whoever does sadl, whoever does qabd, it's up to them. It makes no big deal. Like there is no.
But only Malik allowed it.
But Malik was the one that kind of
said, no, listen,
in the Sunni tradition where it passed on. So all these other people were Sunni people, but they no, obviously nobody seems to pass it on from them.
Yes.
But from Imam Malik, continued. And this stupid thing of, oh, his arms were like kind of dislocated, and so he's like, you know, I can't like kind of do sadr. It's ridiculous.
I can't deal with them.
And there isn't a single Sahih Sarih hadith about where to place the hands in Salah.
Yeah.
That's what I heard.
Not a single Sahih Sarih hadith.
Ooh.
So it must be Sahih, and it must, so unquestionable.
And
Sarih, very clear. Like it can't be like, I think, like the one in Bukhari they bring, he says, I think he's talking about the Prophet saying, I don't know. Ma a'lamu illa in yunma dhalika ila nabi. And apart from the fact it's got Ismail ibn Abi Uwais in the chain, hasn't it?
Ismail ibn Uwais, that guy's
the teacher of Imam Bukhari.
Yeah.
He was the nephew of Imam Malik, so I don't usually like to kind of diss him, but he did used to blag on quite
So you know the same similar thing of Abu Yusuf, that his Thames was about to fall off, so we clubbed it here.
his arm, so they saw that and thought, mashallah, we'll just copy that. But this is another thing, the sadl is a fine example of where, for no issue,
the Malikis
has become sectarian.
The Malikis have been, if you go to the Maghrib, they've been, like even there, they're basically not doing it as much as they used to.
Yeah, because in fact this is a recent
phenomenon. Think about this as well.
This is a recent phenomenon. So in the last few decades, just like 2-3 decades, with the Salafi Da'wah, they've, especially in the cities, like in, let's say you go Dar al-Bayda, Casablanca in Morocco, you go to Rabat, you go to Marrakesh, you go to these kind of cities, you will see a lot of people now doing qabd.
Yes, I've noticed this. When I went to the mosque,
in a way, look, it doesn't, like sadr qabd are both fine.
It's not an issue, but it's just
what
why
bothers me is that how they're trying to kill it.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they're trying to kill it, and it was a sunnah of the Prophet.
Exactly.
You know, even if it wasn't an emphasized sunnah, I don't believe any positioning of the hand was an emphasized. It was just, but this was one of the ways of the Prophet. So, it's a shame.
You could be argued it was quite a strong one, though, a strong position.
No, I mean, I believe that the position is strong.
Strong, yeah.
But what I'm trying to say is, what is the ruling?
What is the ruling per se,
of how to hold the hands in salah? The ruling generally, the Malikis would just say it's like mustahab, recommended.
Yeah.
But how do you do it? So it's like, okay, saying certain things in salah, like you do dhikr.
Yeah.
This is recommended, but who did you get it from? You got it from the Prophet. So it wasn't an obligatory kind of part of salah, but it was from the Prophet. Why are we killing this off? And then they're killing it through, I've heard some of like Sheikh Saeed's Kamali's kind of, he's become, like people are popularizing him, but he as well, this is another thing, it's really just very kind of, he has that like, appearance of the Maliki thing, but then it's really just this new Salafi-esque
it's kind of
Maliki way of looking at things. And they'll just say, oh, Ibn Qasim got this wrong, and Imam Malik's hands were broken, and they just go with this kind of stuff.
When you start using them kind of argumentation, it's like...
And even when if they don't stress the hands were kind of like broken, they'll say, Ibn Qasim got this wrong. And you think, well, what about all these other people? And they'll just dismiss it. They'll say, no, that's not true. If Malik used to do it, don't you think other people would? You think, well, they did do it.
They did do
it. But this is the point, you see, because we struggle as Muslims. This is the irony, this is a hypocrisy. We love to claim that we love diversity.
We don't really.
But we so struggle with it.
You can't be different.
There's a hadith, that, not a hadith. There is the Maliki, great scholar, Ibn al-Jubab, his name was, Ahmad ibn Khalid, I believe his full name was. He's from around the 300s, that kind of, like he's a predecessor to people like Ibn Abdul Barr. Ibn Abdul Barr quotes him in his Istidhkar, saying that, look, he describes his prayer. He says, I went into a masjid in the Maghrib, and he says, it was either Maghrib or the Andalus region. He says, I prayed, and he says, وَمِنَّا, he says, مَنْ رَفَعَ وَمِنَّا مَنْ لَمْ يَرْفَعَ وَمِنَّا مَنْ قَبَض وَمِنَّا مَنْ سَدَدْ وَلَمْ يَعِبْ بَعْضُهُمْ عَلَى الْآخَرِ. He says, people did rafa, people didn't do rafa, people held their hands like this, people did sadr. Not one person blamed another.
Wow, that shows.
It kind of links to the hadith about the
hadith.
difference of Allah's mercy, but now it's
and when the like the hadith, that's, I believe it's in Bukhari as well, that I think it's Anas or one of the companions saying we travelled and some of us kept the fast and some of us didn't keep the fast. Nobody criticised each other. They never said like, weren't you doing this? This kind of, like being able to handle tolerance.
A lot of these issues that we talk about today is accepting difference of opinion.
Mut'a.
You got a book there. I see a book here.
Check out your book on it. I see what your book on it.
This, as you can see, is a diary of my. What's that?
It's not mine. No, I'm clean. I'm clean. It's only Mufti's, yeah. I'm clean.
This is just my preface. The 12-volume edition of photographs in HD quality.
This is the book of the month.
You have to subscribe to for platinum subscriptions. No, so this is an interesting.
About just to finish
discussion.
on the Sadr one.
Speaking about the Sadr.
Just finish that. We'll get to them because you just said that even the Khawarij has Sadr.
Yeah, they did, but and not just them, other groups as well. Yes, Ibadiyya and the so. And it's like, how can this be? My point is, how can so many people be doing it and it be made up? Like, it doesn't. If all these companions, sorry, some of the companions, and if the Tabi'in and the Atba'u Tabi'in, so many of them are doing Sadr.
Yeah.
How can this be made up? Like, I don't understand.
And then you have that principle of Amal al-Madinah.
Amal al-Madinah and stuff like that. So the Sadr
is there,
I am. You see, I have no issues with people not doing Sadr. You see, like my friends, students here, like some of them, they do Sadr, some of them don't. I have no issues with that. I have an issue with people trying to censor it out. And trying to kill it off.
And impose only one way.
Like, because they're trying to trying to get rid of it from
For years when we were young, it was like, oh, Shia Sadr. And it was, it was like, only when I read it, I was like, but the Maliki do it. They're like, no, they don't. I'm like, yeah, they do.
Yeah, no, this is
it's one of those ones. Because
I actually was.
If Imam Malik hadn't pushed that forward,
and it would have just been known as Shia.
And then it would have been like, oh, then it's clearly wrong.
Yeah, because
only because of Malik, it's like, oh, well, then
maybe. See, because the thing is this, that it's easy when people ask you, how is so and so different from me?
Oh, he plays with the hand down.
The easy thing is the ostensible, the visual. Yeah, that's the easy. So the way you say is, oh, look at their beard, look at the they pray like this. The Shia pray like this. So you say, oh, okay, they pray. Like, what is the difference between the Wahhabis? The Wahhabis. If you say that to people, it's abstract. So
no, you need
people
appearance.
want the physical. So how are Wahhabis different? They go like this. They like, this is like, people want the visual.
Yeah, rather than
like
the deep stuff.
This is the low level.
Low level of differentiation.
Neanderthal level of like, even Neanderthals could understand, like, Wahabi, Shia. You know, like, even like the Neanderthals could figure them out.
It's like,
like,
oh, you must be a Wahabi then. Yeah, I get it.
You know, it's like.
No, we were kind of talking, but you know.
Now we've confused because they're Shia and the Maliki
Now the Neanderthals are like,
No, we used to have that, isn't it? When we were younger. Oh, do you do Maulid?
Neanderthal goes,
do you do Maulid?
Oh, no, Maliki.
Yeah. We used to have that, isn't it? Oh, you do Maulid. Oh, you're okay. Then you're alright. You're Brelvi. You don't do. Oh, you're Wahabi.
Now this is.
And it's a bit of khilaf on it, right?
No, it's nothing. And this is not even a defining issue.
But that's not exactly. But like you said, the underdog. Yeah.
The visual. They just want the visual. Oh, your beard is like this. I remember.
You're not wearing the buttons, Sheikh, about your ankles.
Oh, exactly. Like, they'll say stuff like that. They'll say, and just obvious. Like, they'll say stuff like, I remember being told when I was years ago, like, oh, you know, having a goatee is a sign of a Qadiani or something. Like,
a lot of them do have it.
No,
I don't know if a lot of them do have it. A lot of them do have it,
but I mean, I was told this like when I was a teenager. Like, I was told, somebody said to me, oh, Mirzais have a goatee. I was like, I was just keeping a goatee just because it was slick. So I wasn't really. I don't know why they always do. I was like, who the hell are Mirzai? They're like, oh, people who don't believe in our prophet. I was thinking, okay, like, see, like, look, nothing to do. Like, this is not. Like, this is just like, just want a visual.
Say, Qadianis also wear imamah.
Yeah, like, I mean,
they also wear clothes on.
They also wear clothes.
This is what I'm saying. Those pre-sapien level.
Yeah, no, I get that.
Everybody. So this, coming back to this subtle thing, and Raful Yadain is another example of where Raful Yadain, in the Maliki madhab, once again, there's transmissions of both. Many of Imam Malik's students did Raful Yadain and some didn't. And the madhab, Ibn Abdul Bar, once again, on that touching, he says, Man rafa'a fa hasan, man lam yarfa fa hasan. You know, whoever does it good, whoever doesn't do it good. These kind of things.
That's that open-mindedness.
It's like, I see.
I'm just happy they done it, so that we're cool. I'm just happy you lot done it, so we're cool.
Okay, right.
So she, I'll do Raful Yadain.
I mean, generally, I tend to do Raful Yadain.
So we're cool.
I personally do Raful Yadain, but I mean, to me, these things are so kind of like, they're not even.
I know, but you don't get in the common guys how they use it as a tool. where someone as someone who's learned, who gets into the field, you're like, look, really, is this really what our issues are? But in the common level, they use this to get.
Yeah, because like this in Pakistan, for example, this is a big issue in the 90s with the Ahl Hadith and stuff like that, saying, oh, the Hanafis don't do Rafl Dain, it's in this. And then they had huge munazaras over it. And there's stupid refutations of like some people saying, oh, the idol worshippers used to hide idols here, and they got this, and the idols.
We say that, by the way.
So like,
no, but is there narrations for that or his story? I think it's just
it's a long topic.
But my point was that look, this was just something like if you want to do it, do it. Don't do it. Don't
make it
what's
into
the
an
big
issue.
deal? Like I don't get. Honestly, I don't even understand. Like
Just leave the idols out of it.
yeah, I mean, the point is, look, some companions they
No
have
Ganesh. Don't say anything about Ganesh.
they have
Just in
some
case
narrations from some companions. Ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anh never used to do it. Some companions used to do it. Ibn Umar radiallahu anh, and other people they have like, okay, fine, you want to do it, do it. It's a ritual, isn't it? It's a ritual in prayer. Imam Malik has both narrations from him. Some of his students did it, some of them didn't do it. I love how Ibn Habib al-Maliki from Andalus, he's like the student of the students of Imam Malik. He said, however your hand, his wording is, however your hands come together, kayfa mattafaq, however it comes together, it comes together. What's the big deal?
But you see how the scholars were then compared to like now. They're like, do you have 3 hair and is it
like yeah, and all this kind of stuff, and this is my like Rafl Dain is so like I seriously can't even believe this is an issue. I can understand why they made it because it was a visual, so they needed to differentiate between like let's say Wahhabi, Ahl Hadith and Hanafi. So they're like, because it's Pakistan and there's no other madhabs, they're like, oh, Wahhabi keep flapping their arms.
Because interestingly enough, Shias do it as well.
And okay, that kind of slipped me. I didn't realize the Shia do it. And they use
that
hadith they use that hadith that Mali arakum rafi aydikum ka'atnabil khayl, you know what's
every time he
like why do I see you flapping your arms like a horse's tail? And I'm like, look, guys, all the other madhabs do Rafl Dain. What the hell are you doing?
Yeah.
What the hell are you
just
doing?
to get at the Salafis, are you really gonna like throw out
exactly,
your whole...
like you guys, you acknowledge the Shafi'i madhab, you
Yeah,
acknowledge the
you might acknowledge the Salafis.
all of them do this.
No,
So
but
how
we're
would- just to
dealing
get-
with Salafis right now, so yeah.
Exactly. So I'm like, why are you dissing a whole tradition
Just to get that.
just because I don't like the Ahlul Hadith, so I'm gonna throw this whole thing in the bin?
Yeah.
Like, okay, fine, or just be just. Rafl Dain totally wasn't an issue as far as. I mean, there was the other thing as well of one salam.
Yeah. Or taslim.
Of one salam. Generally,
We have
the
a similar.
Maliki-
We have
yeah,
similar. There's a khilaf on it, but we scholars say
So
that's
the same thing within the Maliki madhab. There's
Maliki
two narrations.
seem to get it right a lot of the times.
There's, exactly. Most of the time. There's another issue as well, a controversial one.
I think it's the Zohri cross-link.
See, because Zuhri, he comes in a lot of the Shia kind of tabaqat as
He
Shia.
helped us out a lot.
Yeah. He's helped us out a lot.
Several Shia have claimed him as Shia.
Oh, Droj.
Okay,
No, I'm saying that's whenever we use it.
Yeah.
Send the arguments on it, Droj. Blame it on Zuhri.
So Zuhri, maybe that influence as well.
There's
From,
that.
so this one taslim thing is definitely within Medina. A lot of them used to do one salam. I mean, I personally just do one salam as well. So I'll just go assalamu alaikum, and we just say assalamu alaikum generally. That said, within the Maliki method, there are 2 salams as well. If
We
you
have
want
the
to do
same thing
2
as well.
salams,
Yeah, we have the same
if
thing.
you want to say assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, you can. Ibn Abdul Bar once again on this says that the amal of Ahlul Medina was 1 salam, but he says there's plenty of hadith to say people did do 2 salams. If you want to do 2 salams, do 2 salams. Very chilled out again. If you want to do 1 salam, do 1 salam. We're not saying they're wrong. We're just saying there were different practices, and it's no big deal.
Nobody had a neck cake on the day.
You know, like it wasn't like like I said on the other live, and I said like, isn't who wants to give salam to that angel? I go, he's like kind of recording. He's not loyal. No,
It's nothing like that. Yeah.
so I was like, but it isn't really that we're saying it to the angels. So just clarifying that people say this, but that's not really.
I don't think that's the reason.
Yeah, I mean that's not the reason. That's what I'm saying. It's just a ritual to leave salah. You say assalamu alaikum or assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, however you want to say it. And it's no big deal really. These things, I'm surprised that these things become so huge and they become so put within a sectarianism.
It's to put you into a box. Mufti Saab, get to your memoirs.
My memoirs. Right, so this mut'a discussion is interesting because you see, mut'a. Okay.
What book is that? Can you
Okay,
say
so
that?
this is a book. I haven't actually gone through this book yet. This book, it isn't actually my memoirs. Just
It's not mine
it's not
either.
just my preface. The real, the color HD quality, 4K quality will come out later on. Right, so this is by a contemporary Maliki scholar from Morocco. His name is Muhammad ibn al-Azraq al-Anjuri. And it's called Zawaj al-Mut'a Qira'atun Jadida, a new revised reading fil Fiqh al-Sunni, according to Sunni thought.
Keep that, say that again, Fikri?
Fil Fiqh al-Sunni.
Not
So
Shia,
this
not
is-
Shia.
and actually, I want to highlight this, that this is not a Sunni Shia discussion. It is so dumb to resort this to a Sunni Shia debate. This is a fiqh debate on can marriage be like temporary marriages. And I respect, personally, I respect all sides. Like if you believe that marriages cannot be like short-lived, let's say terminating, that's a concept. This was a concept that definitely existed in the lifetime of the Prophet.
100%.
Definitely. And it continued after the lifetime of the Prophet, undeniably amongst some companions,
Yeah, that's the issue.
namely Ibn Abbas,
Yes.
Imran ibn Hussein,
Yes.
other companions. And then it seems to have come through to maybe 1-2 kind of people after, and then got sectarianized. So then, because the Shia claimed it,
Yeah.
oh, it became a problem. Like, oh, they're doing it, so we must hate it. Now, ever since, people kind of like obviously mock on it, laugh
We
on
asked them to
it.
hate
People-
it. Yeah,
people-
please hate it, will you?
I've heard
think-
people are stuck for like accusing they don't say so much, but they even say it's like prostitution. So indirectly,
When they say stuff like that, it's
See,
like,
like, this is the thing.
to be honest, I'll be fair,
When-
when Sidney says that to me, I'm like, you've done yourself up now, bro. When he says that, I'm like, yes, sir, I got you now, bro. When he says that, I'm like,
I know what
yeah,
you're
now you're
getting.
on mine, bro. Now you're on mine, bro.
I know what you're getting.
You know what I'm saying?
Like the thing is, look, I don't see. Look, the issue is this. Look, I think a lot of this. Okay, first of all, coming through right through to people like Ibn Ashur, who's considered Shaykh al-Islam of
Massive,
the
massive.
20th century.
Real Shaykh al-Islam.
Maliki, very kind of like an authority, not dissed on by people.
Yeah,
He openly in his tafsir says it's not haram. He says, like, I would say if there's a need for it, you could do it.
Ahmad
And
ibn
the
Hanbal
first-
said it's well, he said if there's a need for it as well.
Right,
you
okay,
could do
and
it,
I
yeah,
know
yeah.
Majduddin ibn Taymiyyah, the grandfather of Ibn Taymiyyah, held a view like that as well. I think he tried to reconcile between the Ibn Abbas narrations by saying that was in the
in
Darura or something.
Darura, a lot of them say
Now,
that,
so
yeah.
Ibn Ashur, you see, so this is the thing. So I came across this work. This is
Just to add to that,
Yeah.
Ibn Abbas' student, if I'm not mistaken, Said ibn Jubair.
yes,
Was he one of his
Jubair
students?
is a student of this.
He said mut'a is permissible as drinking water.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of them would use these terms, and
So
I know
Darura goes out the window.
Shia mas'ala as well. The the anal sex one is.
That's
That's
interesting.
another one that they use.
The
like,
Malikis, the Malikis,
Imam Malik.
you can't, don't try it with us.
No, I've actually argued.
Malikis can never
that
try.
Imam Malik- I don't see why people are hating on these kind of things. Look, I've said that. Look, this and because that's the word
Abdullah
they
ibn Umar.
attribute to Imam
Abdullah ibn Umar
Malik.
also.
In
No,
Bukhari.
we don't believe that.
No, so I've said, look, the thing is this, because I said that on the anal sex thing, because that's the wording they use, that Imam Malik said more halal than drinking cold water.
Okay, he's,
Now, so,
oh, wow.
so this is one of the wordings they attribute to Imam Malik in his
So-
book. So I've said, look, these kind of issues on this, I
It's
don't
just used as a
understand
tool
what
to attack you. Well,
I
actually-
don't understand what the emotion is all about.
It's an emotional
If
argument.
you don't want to do it, don't do it. You know,
They can't put that-
I don't understand the
It's
thing
an
of
emotional,
like.
it's an emotional argument. It's an emotional argument.
I mean,
Well, I tell you what, the Salafis have replaced it with something called misyar, where they actually
the
deceive the
mut'a
woman.
thing, exactly. So this
As
misyar thing.
the worst
is-
one is Azawaj al-Niya bin Talaq. That's the
Yeah.
worst one.
Yeah, so,
Tension with the
you see, the
divorce.
zawajun niya bit talaq,
That's
like
the
marrying
worst one.
somebody
That's
with
the
the
worst
intention of divorce.
That's
Traditionally, Sunni scholars didn't have an issue with
accepted.
it. Ibn Abdul Bar, in
Ozayah
his
was the only one who
Istifta,
accepted it.
writes that this is something scholars unanimously
Yeah.
accept. He says that marrying somebody with the intention of divorcing them, because otherwise you would say, he says, otherwise it would necessitate like you must have an intention that till death do us part. And they say that that's a Christian thing.
Yeah.
So, and the cultures in the past, look, the world in the
Just
past
on a
was-
quick point, they
Yeah.
actually say that if you actually put a period on there, then you do what the Shias do.
Yeah, they actually
Okay,
say
if you
don't put time on
period
it.
there,
Yeah.
They go look. this is how bad sectarianism can get. Have an intention to marry her, do what you have to do and divorce her, no problem. But just don't put a time on it.
Yeah.
Because if you put a time on it, so do that, just don't do that.
And that is true. And what I see is in some of the Hanafi works, they attribute the mut'ah thing to Imam Malik, although I'm not sure whether Imam Malik per se, I've not come across that so far per se.
I'll send it to you.
But yeah, I mean, send it to me. I've not come across, but these Malikis like Ibn Ashur, whatever, they've said it. Now, this was a book I came across recently. I was actually looking for something else. I said at the time there was a Maliki scholar by the same name, Ibn Azraq, who's written about the caliphate and written that there can be multiple kings and all this at the same time. And he was from Muslim Spain about 700 years ago. Searching for his things, I came across this, and I got it, and I realized this is a contemporary Maliki who is saying, look, according to, I think this was his thesis or whatever, that according to Sunni thought, mut'ah is not actually haram. I thought, well, he's on Facebook, so I reached out to him and I asked him that, look, listen, I got in touch with him and I said, look, are you going, I'm just out of curiosity, is this what Ibn Ashur is that what you're relying on, Ibn Ashur and this whole thing?
He's only going to go no.
And he said, well, that's not even, Ibn Ashur says it, but that's not my point. My point is from a very technical academic point, like from hadith, from studies. So I was like, wow, okay, what are you talking about? So he said, look, why don't you get hold of my book? So this is, thanks to Mu'adh, I brought it from Egypt. It's very difficult to get hold of this book because it's not widely... After Mu'adh practiced it... So
it's going to mysteriously disappear by tonight.
So this thing is that, right, so... but what I did was at the time I watched that guy, this same person, Ibn Azraq, debating a Salafi scholar on this topic. It's on YouTube, and it's about a 2-hour debate or something, right? So it's in parts. It's really good. It opened my. I was like, wow. I was like, this is the Salafi Sheikh. What's his name? Fazazi.
Yeah.
Sheikh Fazazi. Yeah. So Fazazi is debating him on it. And it gets a bit petty, like the debate.
As Muta always does, anyway.
Like this is it. Because the guy starts making... and the guy
would you give your daughter?
Would you give your sister?
No, but that thing, getting to that, I'll get to that in a moment. He does that, which was bang out of order. But
they do that with us
the point was that before that, they start with the whole, you Shia, you Shia, you Shia.
You see, there you go,
and he's kept saying, look, I'm not going to have a discussion then, if you're not going to be mature with me. He said, look, I want to make something very clear. I'm a Sunni. Yeah? I have used, he says in my book, only Sunni sources. Like, if you're going to dispute with me, like, at least have the courtesy of addressing my arguments. Like, what's this, like, slur, like, oh, you're Shia, don't listen to the Shia.
What do you call it? When you address that...
Yeah, just pigeonholing him to kind of like just...
Ad hominem. You attack the person rather than the argument.
And the point is that he's attacking him because then I don't need to deal with the debate.
It's like you put you in there...
Like, let's call him a Mu'tazili, then he's not a threat.
Yeah.
Let's call him a something else.
Just create your own sect.
Yes, make your own sect, then you're not a problem. So the guy said, so they got over that point, alhamdulillah. He said, look, because the moderator said fine. Even though the moderator was biased as well against him, but the point was, he said, okay, fine. Because he said, look, you got to stop this Shia thing. I'm not a Shia to start off with. He goes, look, you can address it with the Shia, with their sources. I'm a Sunni addressing from... at least address my points then, for God's sake. So they say, all right, fine. Then they go through, and now this debate really kind of wowed me because it got me so curious.
The references are...
Because he started to show the inconsistencies in the hadith. And I'd never heard this angle before. So in the debate, this is why I bought the book, because I then reached out to him and said, wow, what was it? And he said, look, read my book because I can't really explain it as well as I've put it in my book. So he shows that, look, wait a minute, the hadith, the dates, the anachronism, was it in Khaybar? Was it over here?
Yeah.
How come this hadith saying here? How come
was it Khaybar in Ali?
How come it exactly? Was it Ali? Was it this? Was it that? And he says, but
if you're using side point, it's interesting how they put it on Imam Ali.
Okay, yeah, that's interesting.
Because the Shia believe it's allowed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And who do we claim to follow?
Imam Ali.
But it's the same person saying it's not allowed.
Yeah.
Right, okay, yeah.
That's a little tricky.
But he mentions that how come the scenarios are all kind of contradicting. Now, in the debate, I wish they would have allowed him to expand on that, but the other guy kept interrupting and he wouldn't answer his... Like, he goes, okay, I'm going to answer you. So he goes, yeah, please do. And then he just totally doesn't. I was like, bloody hell, that was such a good point.
Yeah, he didn't answer it, yeah.
So I wanted to hear what your answer was. And So I'm really curious on that point. Then it got to a point where he said, you know, these kind of stupid attacks like, oh, if mut'a is permissible,
would you give your...
he goes, right now, marry your daughter to me. So that guy goes, look, don't be silly, right, this and this. And then the guy says, look, first of all, he goes, look, that guy actually gets him. He goes, okay, so see, you consider it haram, but you're prepared to do it.
Next time someone use that on me. Next time someone use that on me.
He goes like,
so you think it's halal then, right? You agree it's halal.
He goes, no, he goes, you consider it haram, but you're still happy to do it then. Like, he goes like, so this is like a hypocrisy. Like you're saying to me, marry my daughter, and you're happy to do haram then. And the guy goes, no, I'm not saying that. I'm just doing this to catch you out because you don't believe it. You say you believe it's halal. He goes, look, just because I believe it's halal, he goes, let's say a guy comes to me, he's got 3 wives, he goes, it's halal to take 4 wives. He says, marry me your daughter. He says, I'll never marry her. He says, let's say a guy comes who's 50 years old, wants to marry my daughter, I'll never marry her to him. He goes, because I just feel that inconsistency. He goes, it's permissible, but I feel they'll never get on. He goes, look, just because I believe mut'a is halal, or it's not haram, I'm not going to say, you're going to say, but then Sheikh Fizazi, what he said after that was really, oh my, you know, like, wallah, I can't even believe he goes like,
give it to me, I'm sure I got it already.
No, he goes like, well, I don't want to marry your daughter anyway because I'm sure she's ugly as you.
Wow. Wow, new academia coming
I was like, honestly, I was offended hearing that. Like, wow, like how
it comes back to that point about would you allow your mother to walk around with one of those points?
But like, why are you calling the guy's daughter ugly? Like what's his daughter got to do with this debate?
This is, the whole thing's emotional.
And that guy even said, he goes like, wow, he goes like, first of all, he goes, my daughter's not ugly, but secondly, he goes like, I can't believe that you're cussing my daughter. Like, what has she got to do with this debate? And like, if you can't take my arguments, then, you know, like, what the hell?
It just shows you
and it just showed how petty, like, at that point, I lost absolute respect for Sheikh Fizazi. I just thought, this guy's a joke, absolute joke. But anyway, the debate did get a bit back forth, but it was definitely worth a watch. It is in Arabic, but it definitely opened my eyes to thinking, wow, this topic, because up until then, I only knew of like the Ibn Ashur debate, mainly.
Do you know what's really sad about this is that for years, from the whole polemic scene, when Shia scholars would write books on the subject, if you would read out the books of our ulama, they would mention Sunni sources. So they wouldn't write it from a Shia perspective. We already know it's allowed or not, according to our imams. But meaning the Al-Bayt. But in regards to when we would quote Sunni sources, Sunni scholars would actually never bother to read it. Because what you're reading here, I guarantee you, if you read, everything's covered in Shia books. When they had it. But what stopped Sunni scholars to read it, it's, Shias though, innit? When a Sunni writes it, it holds more weight.
Of course.
Because it's like, well, he won't blag it.
Yeah, exactly. No,
but we don't blag it either.
He says like a revised reading, fil fikr sunni.
That's why you have to...
I'm not, this is not Shia fiqh.
No,
this is like a
exactly,
fiqh
don't get it.
Like, look, I'm only going to quote Sunni sources.
Yeah, you're not going to find al-Qafi.
Listen to this debate. And I just think and there's so much of a charge, like an emotional, and the kind of insults around this. Look, I'm all with this. Look, if you don't want to do things, don't do them. But then the truth is, with relationships, in all honesty, relationships, religion with a capital R seems to have failed with relationships in the modern day and age. If anything, I would have thought mut'a was at least some kind of a solution. And I can see Mazari happily.
He's like fighting.
He's doing Mazari's going to say that famous quote that Al-an ightasaltu minhu. That I've just right now taken a bath from it.
I'm not going to mention what Ibn Qayyim said in Extreme Measures, but we can discuss that.
About this?
No, not this issue, but how to do other things.
Okay. But the thing is that this, you see, like this thing, I don't see the hate, and I also think there's a bit of hating. I think in some ways Sunnis kind of feel like, why can't we do it? You know, it's like...
No, you can if you're Maliki.
No, but they feel,
they can't just become Shia.
No, but so then they just do that, then the misyab.
I just have a friend.
Yeah. So they just, so what we're doing is, basically, this is just a low commitment relationship. That's all it is, isn't it? Like, except mut'a is just saying, well, okay, it's for a set deadline. Generally, when I've been asked, I would say, well, what's the difference between that and just what I would say is an understanding? You got an understanding where, okay, if something lasts, it does. If it doesn't, okay, then this is what we're...
Interesting, with Muta, there's no talaq, Mufti. They just stop.
You see, so that's the thing that I've said, that generally I would say that if there's an option for it to carry on.
There is an iddah period. So there's no prostitution involved here or anything like that.
To call this prostitution is utterly unacceptable, because look, what you're doing is it's just a slur on a religious discussion, and secondly, you're dishonouring the people.
Yes.
The woman's not a whore. Like you can't say like obviously if a guy and a girl. Yes, I would personally not advocate this per se, like self-terminating. I would advocate the fact that there's an understanding.
Yeah, okay.
That look, for example, if people wanted a low commitment relationship, two mature adults, and they knew what that. Let's say they thought, oh, we're going on holiday somewhere, and this is a week's holiday. If it works, alhamdulillah, we'll carry on. If it doesn't, we'll call it an end. I think is what like, in all honesty, what's look, I've already sold it to the people here. I'm sitting back like so relaxed, thinking, I just did that last week.
Because I already know this, man.
Also, just on a green point as well. In terms of witnesses and gaining permission. Some people under the some of the ulama say you do need permission from the guardian. Some don't. But I mean, it's a better solution than adult fosterage, then, isn't it?
No,
than travelling. You know what I mean?
But my point is, look, even these witnesses thing.
Yeah.
We have it as a recommended.
Look, okay, the Mailki madhab was you can make an announcement for that anyway. But put that aside. What are we doing today? These secret marriages, like we're just gonna get like it's all undercover anyway. Like it's all See, what annoys me is the hypocrisy. It's not what people do. Look, people don't really care. Like people want to sleep around, gonna sleep around. It's just the way of the world. It's nature. It's creature nature.
Yeah.
Right. Religion. What we're doing is like saying, oh, but we've like here's a system. You've got to, but now we're gonna get like undercover, secret, and then we're gonna do people over. This is why I was saying, look. In some ways, at least then mut'a is much more transparent. Because at least they're very clear that okay, it's going to end at this point. Even though I would personally advocate where it doesn't end, where it has an understanding that at this point, if it hasn't worked, we just go our own ways. But if we want it to work, we can make it work. So there's that hope for...
No, but you see exactly what you said. At that moment in time, let's just say you've done that. At that moment in time where now you're like, well, I actually want to continue it. Then you just basically continue it and you can make it permanent.
Oh, you can?
So that's, all of those things are there.
So fair enough. So my point was like that understanding of... But what they're doing today is like what they're doing is like deceiving. Like you'll get a girl... You'll get this girl, promise of marriage. Not a big wedding. Like they'll have undercover weddings with them, give them hope, and then just do one. Like, but this is my.
They will say that's cool because
they'll say that is cool because
Azwaj bin.
They said Azwaj bin niyat talaq.
They'll say that's fine.
And they'll say, like, what have I done that's haram? But
it's like, so which one is it then? Really?
But why is that not? Because you've broken people's trust.
That's khiyana.
You've kind of like, but more than just breaking trust, you've given them a despaired outlook towards relationships. And we've got so much of that, man. We've got so many people frustrated in our communities. In fact, most of these Mulvis are all sexually frustrated. That's another topic.
You would say that.
But my point is like, there was an issue. Look, there was an... This was an actual incident, right? That somebody was telling me that there was a practicing religious kind of girl, and she basically, obviously divorced, whatever, single, but in this world you need, obviously, there is a fundamental human need for companionship, for that kind of, look at that, there's no dispute on that.
It's about
even though we don't accept, I'll accept ijma on this point is that look, there's a fundamental human need, a creature need. It's not even a human need. So this woman's obviously struggling. Now she needs, obviously, she has sexual obviously needs just like anybody, and she'll be like, so in this particular case that I was told about, that she eventually finds, like she comes across this guy, because the problem is normal people, if she says I want a full-on relationship, most guys are not prepared to go into full-on relationships with, or they're prepared to have this kind of like, use and abuse, and then the culture is all like, oh my god, how can you marry just you? So she would just eventually, on the sly, she was just obviously she was just sleeping around with this particular guy. So she's sleeping with this guy who's not really religious, and he was more into kind of drugs and stuff like this. And I think he'd kind of like get her some drugs to kind of ease her depression and stuff. But the whole point was he then, and this is how I came to hear of this, because he was then telling this to somebody that I know, a friend, and he was mocking her. Like saying, haha, you know what, and she's a religious person, prays 5 times a day, and you know what she does with me, this. Now, when I heard this, I kind of felt like really disheartened that, look, that we've got such a culture where a woman has to do these things just to meet fundamental needs, like human needs. And then the only people she can resort to are people that are like this, are not really that mature in understanding, and then they will just mock her because she's religious.
Yeah, rather than see it as...
And we don't have a solution. Like we don't, the Muslims, we don't have a solution, because what is our solution?
You know what, Imam Ali said about Muta al-Islam, he said, it's in Sunni Riwayah as well, by the way. Imam Razi mentions this as well in his tafsir. If Umar hadn't banned Muta, no one would have done zina.
Did you mention it?
I haven't read this yet.
But because you know that narration, you see that concept. That in today's time, you're saying we don't have nothing, but we do.
Exactly, because so this is another thing that, you know, I think people have obviously turned it into a sectarian. It's become a slur, isn't it?
Yeah, of course,
And I think like, I just don't know, like, people ask me, so in fact I was even thinking, because a few people were asking me that this week's Monday Nights with Mufti, I was going to respond to some relationship issues, so a few people had messaged me. But, you know, people ask me, and the truth is, like, I just say, like, I went to this, they called me to this one, there was like I think they were like just fresh uni students, they had this camp, it was about 2 years ago or something, I think. I was called there to do a session, and they had Q&A, and they asked me, what's the, you know, about relationship issues, and said, like, what's the solution, this. I just said, I honestly don't know what the solution is. They were kind of like, what the hell? Like, give us a solution? I was like, well, what do you want me to... Because look, the solution, is this the solution? I was like, solution? Solution on the thing. So the point is, I said, look, because look, we're living in a day and age where people's mentalities are so different. You marry somebody, and the problem is, like, how do you know you're compatible? And then there's a really big problem as well, which I said is an elephant in the room that nobody's discussing, and that is like sexual compatibility. Like, we have no way even around that. Like, from a religious, capital R, religious viewpoint. Like, people could just do it, okay, fine. But there's no religious way of even knowing. And, you know, like, the amount of cases I look at that are like, the relationship's broken down because of sexual incompatibility. And because, you see, in the past, like, let's say 1,000 years ago, people all had a similar mindset. Like, the guy is survival. Can have a family, can have children, man's off, working in the fields, he's off to war, he's off on trade, comes back. Same mindset. Sex was just a natural thing they had. It was just like a natural thing. They saw it almost the way people, as natural as we see food today. They didn't see, it wasn't a taboo. It was just a natural thing. Today, the world's so different. You could be, you know, your next door neighbor could have such a different mindset from you. You could be totally somebody, you know, this neighbor's into, I don't know, he's into rock and roll. That guy's next neighbor's a nerd into kind of like, just like, and the guy over there just collects stamps. And the guy, you know, like, people are so different. Like, they could be, people, we don't even know our neighbors, but I'm just saying that it would be so, we don't have one mindset. Then the society we live in is massively sexualized, hyper-sexualized. And everything is about like sex. Now, or is that just the stuff I'm watching?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't know what you're talking about. Like,
I need to stop watching these Shia channels.
Flipped it, you know? I like the flip.
So the point is that
the real boss on the 12 o'clock.
So the point is like everything's so hypersexualized.
No wonder he bought this today.
And but the issue is now, people, the one thing that a lot of people, okay, you can have a sexual relationship, you should get married, do nikah, but they don't even know if they can. I'm just saying, there is no answer to this. So people ask me, what's the answer? I said, well, I don't believe
people knew this though.
The answer
within the 12 of
the answer, okay, that would be. But what I'm trying to say, I'm not saying to people they need to do this. But what I'm trying to say,
we use it as an engagement period.
Okay.
So an engagement period, or if you want to get to know someone, either in the engagement or getting to know someone, like Sayyid Ali mentioned, they do muta. And you can actually put, if you want, you can put a stipulation of no physical contact, or if you want, you can leave it. Yeah,
those conditions.
So it's
we don't want that. We don't want that.
so regardless, we use it like that.
You can add your own stipulations.
You said astaghfirullah.
I said fear Allah.
He said fear Allah because we said conditions.
I just remember Imam Malik's words, "Kullu shartin laysa fi kitabillahi fahuwa batil." No, so the thing is that, look, I mean that's what I'm trying to say. I'm not saying necessarily people need should be doing muta. What I'm saying is the scholars need to be doing ijtihad for solutions. Like we're not coming up with any. Like we're just saying. Like people say, oh, you're 18 years old, just get married. Are you crazy?
No, it's not that easy, is it?
No, but like even if you did, like that's just a recipe for disaster.
No, in today's society is different.
But you just get the girl pregnant and then you just disappear. Like the relationship would break down, and then we've just got, like, so what are the responses? Like I marry them off immature. Some of these guys are so immature.
They're not,
like you speak to people, they're like, I was speaking just last week. Somebody speaking to me about this girl, she got married. Relationship had broken down now. I think it was only lasted about 3-4 months. And she was like, oh, I got married, went there, and then it's just like, oh, you dirty whore, you this, you that. It's like, this is his kind of language. And obviously, naturally, the relationship broke down, and she's pregnant. So this is my point is, like, look, this is what we've got. Like, that's another discussion in itself. Why are Muslims, and especially, it's going to sound, I'm Pakistani myself, why especially Pakistanis? Where did this culture come from that we've become so, I don't even know the word for it, man. Like, this cuzzy bro to this extent that we've kind of like become like so mentally immature, like they can't handle relationships at all. There's a huge, like, especially those between, like, let's say from the age of 20 to maybe early 30s, so immature, man. Like, and I don't think the Bengali community is on a par. The Indian definitely are not. They're much more mature than us, much more civil. So what? And it's not like we're necessarily, Pakistanis are not necessarily poor. It's not, like that kind of chav culture we've got. But we're not. We're kind of okay. Like, families, they've got a bit of money, they've got a bit. So where did this kind of thing become so prevalent? That's a whole different discussion for a different day. But I just feel that this relationship thing, we need ulama to stop thinking. Because all we're doing is everybody's just losing hope. They're just saying, and people in the past, I've said that muta is one discussion, that at least it's a discussion.
And it's a subject that, it's a discussion that has a lot of legitimacy within the nusus. It's not something that someone will say to you, stop making up your religion. This is nusus.
And in essence, you see, the way I've said it is this, look. It's not about, like, this isn't about a religious act. The way I see it is if two mature people, adults, consenting, have an understanding and they have a relationship, why is it anybody's business? Like, in my understanding, like if they...
But they want to justify religious reason.
Yeah, but fine, that if they have a short-lived relationship or a long-lived relationship, if somebody's relationship lasted a week, I'm just saying, or somebody's lasted a year, or somebody's lasted 10 years, what business is that of anybody else? As long as there's no abuse, there's no nothing, the people of their own will, like, why does it bother anybody else? Like, why are we getting so emotional over, like, people have different varying emotional needs. Some people don't want long relationships, some people want long relationships. So each to their own, like, that's my point. Like,
so the khulasa is muta. Okay, let's move forward.
Inshallah, once I've been through this whole book, I will do like a kind of course on it, summing it up.